Good evening and welcome to Not a Good Hockey Pod episode 4. I'm your host Alex Nez, and this burly bearded bastard is my co-host Mick Finley. Today we finally made it, bud. We're talking about the Pacific Division here. Man, it doesn't look much better than the last one here, but we'll fight through this as well too. Um, yeah, man, it's going to be kind of fun filtering through these teams. There's a lot of raw talent on it. Looking forward to going into it here. But before we jump into this, as always, we try to touch into a little bit of the news that happened here recently. So, Mick, man, if you want to take it over and kind of shine on a few things that happened this week.
Yeah, man. I am really glad to be wrapping this series. It's it's funny, like I've been watching us edit these down, and each one's longer, and each one that we go through, I hate more and more. So I don't understand how it's longer, but probably just because I'm better at hating than I am loving. But yeah, so news. Bunch of news actually, and I'll even start with injuries because so far with our division, like predictions, injuries haven't really been affecting my decisions. But now I'm looking at my list and hearing what happened to Doughty, I'm like, are they where they are without him? So, but anyways, I'm not going to change it. I'll just leave it. But yeah, so we'll start with Luke Hughes and Drew Doughty are out month to month to start the season. I don't know a ton on Luke Hughes. Maybe you do. But as far as Doughty's concerned, he does need surgery, and he will be out pretty much the entire season, it looks like. Um, and
Damn.
that's not awesome for the Kings. It's not awesome for hockey, but it is absolutely awesome for fantasy hockey because he's Paul's keeper,
Yeah, I
and I
know.
and I hate Paul. So it's going to be awesome. Um, do you know more details on Luke Hughes or?
If I remember, it's not for too long. I think he did have something where it's only just going to be a matter of weeks instead of like months. So I think if my memory serves me right, it's right around the 6 week range. So he should be bounced back pretty early here. I mean, he's what, 18? Fill that kid up with some Toradol and send him back out there. You know what I mean?
Just throw some creatine in his butt and just let it go. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, he's young, so I'm not worried about it. And he's not the pivotal piece yet. I mean, he's getting there for sure. But yeah, I'm sure he'll bounce right back. He's definitely a different age than Doughty. Doughty's going to take some time. Moving right along in injuries, dude. Again, on the side, John Gibson out 3 to 6 weeks with an appendectomy. Appendix exploded.
Yeah.
Probably fucking ruptured it on purpose when he got to training camp and realized he was still on that garbage team, but just punching himself in the side.
Oh man, his sides are finally busting from carrying that team for so long. Poor
Jesus
Gibby.
Christ, man.
Poor Gibby.
He does so much for that team and it sucks for him. But
Uh,
and it's funny too, like as I troll Tommy, the series will continue with how much I hate Tommy. I've just been sending him texts like I'm hearing Swayman to the Ducks for Gibson and Zegras and just shit like that. So I don't get to do it as honestly as fake honestly as I was, but yeah. So and real quick before I go on to the next couple injuries, I was wrong in the last pod a little bit.
we
I
should
had
just have a
mentioned
segment called "I Was Wrong in the Last Pod."
I
We're
think
back.
I think we should have like a screen pop up that like has like a small little musical number. It's Mick was wrong, like
Yeah,
because that's going to happen a lot.
I need a
But
button right here for it.
on my weekly screaming match with Tommy, um, he told me I was stupid because that would have like Sway signed or not would have meant Bussy would have to be exposed or go through waivers. And I'm fucking screaming at him like, no, you're stupid. He's like, no, I think you're misunderstanding. So I looked into it more. It's not technically waivers yet, but exposure is a thing. So if a player has played 3 times in the AHL and they submit their final list, the people that don't make the final NHL list are exposed to the rest of the NHL. There's not a ton of movement at that time every year because everybody's submitting their lists. So it's obviously safer to do it because hey, Sway signed or whatever, and everybody's moving around. Um, but it doesn't mean that he wouldn't have been exposed. He would have been exposed no
Right.
matter what. But still, Swayman being signed before the end of training camp means he would have gone through that process instead of being sent through waivers when all team sets are listed. So I'm still pissed off no matter what way you go, but I was
Yeah,
also a little
it's
bit
not a
wrong.
good look. It hasn't been a good look over there. I'm sure
No, I
something
don't
will
want.
get done. It'll be great for everybody's fucking family, sure, but
I don't.
I don't know. I don't really like the process as to how it's been going over there if I were a Bruins fan. But I'm
The
not, and
Bru-
it's actually great that you guys just look like you're crumbling within, but
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
you're welcome.
But
Your team
but
sucks.
but I will say I don't want to talk about that right now. The rest of our podcasts are not obviously talking about all these shitty teams that don't matter. It's just talking about the teams that do, the things we want to. You're going to hear plenty about the way I feel about all this. So, all right, back into the new stuff. We're moving right along. I mean, this one at Line A got banged up yesterday in preseason. Uh,
It looks
so
pretty
what?
gnarly. I mean,
What
yeah,
happened?
almost so what, but that seems to be the never-ending story of Patrick Line. But man, that
Yeah.
looked pretty brutal. I hope it's not what it looked like. If he can
So
bounce
it's
back, and
actually it's serious.
it looked pretty fucked, to be
Oh, all
honest
right.
with you. It was a slew foot. It was just knee to knee. It
Ooh.
was yeah. His left leg. I don't know if it was just momentum or the screenshot or whatever, but it looked like Gumby. So
Oh,
it might be a rough sitting out year again for him.
gotcha. Oh well. I mean, shouldn't be a had, man. I hope the best for you, but that's just one less thing I got to worry about up there. Um, but I don't want anybody hurt for no reason. But anyway, I don't know about this, so probably should look this up. But Backstrom and Oshie out. Is that a real
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Okay.
That was news from I forget who said it, but somebody on the Caps mentioned it, and I was like, "That's tough again."
To start or for like months or
I think it's probably for months. It seems like, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised about Backstrom, but Oshie, I'm not surprised about either. Actually, I think about it, they're always hurt. I feel bad for Osh.
yeah, they're headed to LTIR, buddy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that's still gonna happen, but hey, whatever. That's not really news from their side of things because
Yeah,
they're always just
that's
hurt.
just their team. They're always hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oshie being
Uh,
37, Backstrom going on probably Medicare age. It's
yeah, yeah.
career guys.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, losing Backstrom sucks because I just love the way he plays. But I mean, I can't remember a recent time where he was playing like Backstrom.
Yeah,
So
it's been a long time since that. I mean, but
all right. Well, anyways, there's that on injuries. We're gonna move on from that. I mean, the first thing I wanna there's like three decent things to talk about. Number one, top women's prospect is leaving high school early to play for the Minnesota team.
hell yeah.
That's Chloe Primerano.
hmm
Primerano.
From Marino, I
Uh,
think it is. I don't have it
when
in
you
front of me.
s- when you sent that to me, I went and looked up some highlights of her.
Yeah.
She might be like top dog on that team already.
Oh, for sure. I was looking at that
So
too. I was like, what makes her jump so quickly? And I was like, oh, I get it. Very young.
yeah, it's sad that there's not information as to like what steps, because like with the NHL, you can kind of like track three or four different ways a player will go into the NHL, whether they're drafted or undrafted, whether they played in juniors or if they went to the C or went to the O, or there's all these different leagues, and maybe they signed over in Europe for a little bit. Like there's all these different paths, but I don't know a path really for the PWHL. I mean, obviously it's new and that's not been the focus, but I'm hoping to learn that a little more. Like, what does
Yeah,
that look like?
it's got to be like NCAA, which has got to be pretty difficult to begin with, just to get your high school name and everything out there to reach these teams. Like, I don't know, I would assume more so like Denver or Boston College or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, outside of that, you don't have those like minor type leagues to kind of just get into the farm system of everything and see what can happen with it, to
Right.
my knowledge. Um, but it still seems like I mean, if they're finding these girls and these talents in high school, there's scouts everywhere, just like every other professional league. So good for them for finding this girl. And, I hope she, like you said, man, she might just hop on and just kill it, just absolutely
Yeah.
crush it. And might have a great career in the PWHL with that. I mean, starting so young and very talented.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
Gonna
And
be
that's
cool to
that's
look.
the thing is, prior to the PWHL, there was always these women's leagues that were really like easily ignored, and you didn't really know what they weren't really unified for me. They may have been a league or two here,
Mhm.
but it was almost like what they did while they were waiting for the Olympics again, right? And
Yeah.
now having like a really competitive league, I'm assuming out of college and into minors and into minor league teams or and even to like an AHL version of the PWHL
Hmm.
would be would be the future if this takes off. So, but yeah, I think it's cool. And yeah, she was lights out, one of the best hockey players I'd seen at that age in a long time. So that was cool. Um, Moving on to Darlene. Darlene is the new captain of Buffalo.
Yeah,
They also
he's got a supporting cast there. It seems like
you said you text me Darlene's the captain and so is 20 other people. But in all fairness, the
facts.
pitcher was hilarious. It looked like the whole team was posing for the new captains. I mean, honestly,
Dude, it
alternate
looked like the
captains.
fucking Avengers. Are you kidding me? They
It
were
did look
all of
like a
Marvel and
fucking.
DC is a captain in Buffalo. It's
It did
wild.
look like a Marvel fucking preview for a movie. I will give you that. I don't really give a shit about that team at all, so I'm not going through the alternates. But Darlene, I mean, probably at this point the most tenured on the team,
Yeah, has to be right.
right? Right, yeah. I mean, unless I'm no, I mean, is Gergensen still there?
I don't think so.
And it doesn't actually
Yeah, that
fucking
makes sense.
matter.
It
But
truly makes
but
sense.
obviously, it's funny because I feel like he just got drafted like a couple years ago. But I mean, he's been in the league a long time now. He's killing it. So good
Yeah,
for
no,
him.
me when I say a couple years ago, it could be anywhere from 2 to 9 years ago.
Or 19 for me. I'm fucking old.
Yeah, you're a bag.
Whatever. All right. Fucking moving on.
Hmm.
Uh, we have to talk about Jacob Markstrom's helmet.
It's so sick. Floored. I saw it. I'm like, what? That needs to be in a museum somewhere. Beautiful already.
The best
Tough.
the best themed helmet for a team to exist. If you haven't checked it out, if you're listening and you haven't seen Jacob Markstrom's new helmet for the New Jersey Devils, it's like,
Oh,
what the fuck is going on?
dude, I did this. Wow. Look at this, everybody. Are you not entertained? Look
Dude,
at this.
now that we know that, this pod has just become us doing that. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. That's how I felt when I saw
That's how I
Markstrom's helmet.
felt.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is like it's like staring at the newest heavy metal record. It's just the most
Oh, it's
fucking
just
evil thing I've ever seen. So obviously it's the theme of the New Jersey Devil and like the goat head on the side and the color scheme and the just the fucking cryptic ass like fonts and they had like a scroll and
yeah,
it's like a preview for a horror movie. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm in love
exactly.
with that helmet.
Yeah, whoever made that understood that assignment really
Yeah,
well.
yeah, they sure did. And honestly, good on him. Way to embrace coming over. I mean, he was in a shitty situation, which we're going to touch on.
Hmm.
Um, but when you put that much care into your helmet, you're stoked. You have to be stoked to be there if you're going to do that.
Right. I mean, there's
So
again, we've touched on it in previous episodes, but the Devils, man, if I do think they can really take off this year, that investment truly has to pay off. If they can just stay healthy a bit, now that they got that goaltending issue out of the way, they're not so reliant on two guys that have kind of shown some promise. It's like this guy has shown that he can do it, and there is a team in front of him, and you got the coaching as well too.
Right.
I'm excited to see where this Devils team goes because that helmet's about to shine on a lot of national TV.
It is cool. I think too the Devils needed him
Yeah.
more than any team needed a goalie. So they
Well,
got him. I mean,
some
any team that
some
think
say
about
that.
how far they fell off. They needed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, all right. There's a note here. I don't really know what it means, but I think it means riff on this. Preseason is in full effect.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're here. Season's kind of here. We're rounding third.
I mean, if you want my feelings on it, I'm already an emotional fucking wreck over the Bruins and how shitty they are. Um, I haven't paid any attention to any other team in preseason unless they were playing us.
Mhm.
Um, so far, it's been abysmal, man. It's looking at it from the scope of a Bruins fan. I didn't watch tonight because I didn't have the fucking heart to be let down. And sure as shit, the Flyers did beat us. Again, I know it's preseason; it doesn't matter.
Right.
Everyone
It's just
says
hard
everyone.
not to overthink it. It really is. I'm trying to tune it out.
Okay, it is preseason and factually does not matter to any sort of statistic or to points or anything like that, but it is a showing of what you have. And in my case, I do not have a starting goaltender. And that's been shown because we're 1-3 and the Rangers just ate us alive. Bussy played the full game, game three, looked like dog water. It was so bad, dude. It was so bad. And like back to Tommy, he's like, oh, were some of them good goals because he wasn't watching. I was like, yeah, there was, a 5-on-3 goal. I don't expect
Mm.
Swayman to stop a 5-on-3 goal most of the time. You're like, fuck, this is gonna be a goal. And then also you're looking at Fox, Zabinajad, and all this stuff against our fucking AHL team, right? Like, and it's
Oh,
like,
okay. So,
so
yeah,
right.
you can't get a
But
true,
then
it's like a true feel with that.
no, but the other fucking 100 goals they scored were all fucking bad, dude. Like, just stop a fucking puck. It's your one job. It, all
I
right.
get it. Hard
I don't
job.
want to talk about it.
Hard
And
job.
the thing is, I need to get this out here because that's why this exists. And also, do it. Just get it out now. Be bad now. But if we don't figure this out before the start of the season, this is going to be a shitty year for me.
Yeah, it's sure looking like it, pal.
Yep.
No
Yep.
skin off my back, but I feel you. I feel you.
How's your fucking team?
I've been trying to just put the horse blinders on with that one. It's preseason. We take everything with a grain of salt. However, I kind of have the opposite effect. I kind of like who we have, in our farm teams. I kind of like our backup, like I guess our really emergency goalie now. There's just a lot more light and a lot more optimism now than I felt the last 2 years.
Oh.
And I think Rucker McGrory has been playing fantastic. I've fumbled. I always fucking slur his words, but or these names, but he's been crushing it. There was a stat that every time he was on the ice, he was present for about 75% of the scoring chances out there. So that's a good thing to look forward to.
Rucker, baby.
Rucker, baby.
Rucker, baby. I mean, I haven't paid attention to, like I said, any other teams, so it's whatever. But I mean, yeah, it's the feels. The point of that is the feels are back, right? As we get done with this pod, which we're going into next, um, now we're just going to be focusing in on our teams and weekly recaps and talking about how shitty fantasy was for us and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's good to have hockey back. It's that season, so I'm stoked. I'm just glad I'm bored without hockey. I
I
try every
know.
year with baseball. I try every fucking year. I get really behind the Red Sox for like 6 months. I'll order like a fucking jersey.
Damn, you
I'm
get
like,
six
oh,
months. We
yeah,
just sit here and we watch just a Ferrari in a trailer park play. So I can't even get behind. I can't even get behind the Bucks, dude. It's tough. It's tough out here.
dude, think about it like this. I don't necessarily watch baseball. I watched the percentage of making the playoffs shrink every fucking day for 6 months. That's what I do. I love a lot of those kids and the Red Sox, and I'm also hurt a lot by the Red Sox. So whatever. I'm just glad I don't have to fucking deal with it anymore. We're on to what really matters,
We're
and
back.
we're back, baby. One more piece of news, and then we'll get into this fucking bullshit. And this I'm going to hand over to you to discuss, but we are going to be on audio platforms soon, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So you can get the the audio clips now in our Instagram in the bio on Buzzsprout. They have all episodes there. We'll load them up on the same time frame as Wednesdays at 7 for you. And then that way you can listen to it on your way to work, or we can just be your mind numbing voices in your head on the way home when work just beats you up. Um, but yeah, we're gonna do that. Then we're gonna start trying to work more towards on Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that. We're just chipping away at this, but
Yep.
yeah, we'll have more lanes of audio coming soon.
Awesome. And I'll leave a link down in the description for Buzzsprouts, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll put that down there for everybody else. And yeah, let's just dive in, man. Let's start. This is our Pacific previews. So after you.
Oh man. Well, the first one I'm sure we agree on. That might be very easy, but there's still a lot to talk about within this team. It is
Yep.
Edmonton.
Yep. The Anaheim
Edmonton,
Ducks.
dude, them Sharks, dog, are coming
Them
in
Sharks,
hot.
dog.
Yeah, Edmonton, they're still stacked. I think they still didn't lose anything when they made their additions and who they lost. Um, I don't know. They also seem really well positioned going forward if they need to acquire somebody before the trade deadline here. It just seems like they still have money. They haven't buried themselves. They paid their top guys still. Uh, I mean, who's going to take it from them? It's still Connor McDavid, still Leon. They're just going to crush. Um, are they still running it back with Stu Skin? I didn't even look
Yes.
at this.
Yes, they are. So they, you're right. I agree with you. They're my number one. Um, you know, I think buying out Jack Campbell only saved them a couple $1 million, and
Mhm.
they're already back at only having 900K, and they have a couple big injuries. Again, we're really not letting injuries navigate our idea. And actually, even with these injuries, although they're big, Oilers are still number one in this division. It's not even a competition, but it's Darnell Nurse and it's Evander Kane. Like
Right.
those are some big guys. Obviously, the offer sheets for uh, was it Proberg and uh, the other
Yeah,
kid,
I don't know the other kid though, but that one I do know.
but they were both that St. Louis story, and they lost young talent. Um, they don't have any flexibility. But I guess I understand too that things can happen, right? Like Evander Kane, for instance, is almost $6 million right there in LTIR, and that's flexibility,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if you're not getting Kane's production, can you make up for it in the bottom six? I think so. I think
Hmm.
so. Also, by the way, they're the only fucking team that doesn't even need nine other forwards because Hyman, Draisaitl, and McDavid are enough. And by the way, there's a guy on there, Nugent Hopkins, I didn't mention. Like
I got that was next little bullet point.
he
Nugent Hopkins revenge tour is that was what I have written down here. He's coming
man,
back.
he dude, he is so fucking good at hockey, and you're never even gonna hear about him because of what's going on above him.
Right.
And it's just like, man, I just I
Because even in
cannot
his
fucking believe.
regression season, I still think he had like 70 points or something like that.
Well, he regressed, but he was also like third line. He regressed
Right.
in time, right? Like
Right.
so. I mean, he was obviously on power plays and stuff like that. I mean, he also went from like 110 points to 70, which is a huge drop. But 70 points is
Nothing to
amazing
scoff at.
because
It's just something. Yeah, it's nothing to turn your cheek at for sure.
do you know why it's amazing? You ready to hear the people that are paid more than him? I'm just going to name one, Evander Kane. The guy
Yeah.
makes $5.125 million a year.
Hmm. He just signed it not too long ago too, right? Maybe like a year or so ago. So
No,
yeah, it
he's
took
like
a
3 years. He's like 2 or 3 years in. He's in.
and
He's
2 years.
yeah,
Okay, this should be maybe third, but yeah, I mean, still they're gonna have him for a bit because I think he did sign on like what 6 year contract. Team
7.
friend 7, so
Hmm.
team friendly too. So he's gonna be there. So yeah, they still just have like locked in depth. And like you
Yep.
said, they're going to get some LTI. They know how to manipulate the cap. The cap's kind of fake again. It's kind of one of those
Yep.
things where they're just going to buy out fines if they have to. But I don't see it really happening to that point.
Yep.
And then you flip it to their defenseman, like you said. Sure, Nurse is out. That can kind of hurt a bit. It
Hmm.
didn't seem like I didn't watch a bunch of Oilers games last year. Guilty about that one. But was Nurse out for a bit last year?
I don't know.
It didn't seem like he
I,
played well last year, from what I kind of picked up on.
he's a polarizing figure in Edmonton and in the NHL. A lot of people don't love his defensive game. Um, he's kind of like the punching bag up there, and rightfully so when you're making 9.5 million, 9.25, something like that. To not be defensive and be your top defensive guy is pretty weird. But I don't give a shit about Darnell Nurse when Evan Bouchard's on that team.
100%
Holy shit. That kid is a fucking stud.
talent.
I did not realize that this kid was going to be what he was. In the playoffs, he was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can find stats because it was like as impressive as what Draisaitl was doing. And they're going to have to pay him next year, by the way.
Oh, for sure. And I
He's
think that's
he's
what it
I
is. I
mean
think
he's up.
something clears up next year or something, where they're going to have like a good chunk. Plus, the cap space is going to go up. And I just don't understand how they were able to do all of it. That probably happens when you just don't pay your goaltending anything. So you're saving a ton of money there.
Buddy,
Um,
listen to these stats real quick on Bouchard.
mhm.
So in the last 3 years, he's missed 2 games. Okay, so he's played 81, 82, 81. Okay,
That in
so
itself is what you need.
and the, and before that, he had only played 21 NHL games between 2 seasons because again, he was just a baby. But
Mhm.
his first full season in, he ended up having 43 total points. All right, 12 goals, 31 assists. A little bit of a slide last year. He was more physical the year, and this is 22-23. He played 82 games and he had 40 points, so a dip 3 points, and that was 8 goals, 32 assists. So he stayed in the assists, but he dropped them in goals. Okay, last year in 81 games, he had 82 points. 81 games, 82 points. He had 18 goals and 64 assists. 18 goals and 64 assists. Then you go into the fucking playoffs with this kid. Mind you, the year prior to that, he had 17 points in 12 games. But this year, he had 32 points in 25 games. He
He
had
was terror.
six goals and 26 assists in 25 fucking playoff games. And he is how old? How old is this
Young.
fucking
Yeah,
kid?
he's pretty young, but that's why we didn't give a fuck about Nurse.
24.
And that's why we didn't watch him. This guy, his name was mentioned all over the place. He was fucking solid last year.
24 years old. He's got the league by the balls. I can
Even
see
younger.
I could see him winning 2, 3 Norrises in the next 10 years if he just keeps
Yes.
and yes, he does have a huge, amazing play set in front of him with Draisaitl and McDavid, and I'm sure that would dip if he was somewhere else. But you know what? He's not somewhere
But
else.
he's not somewhere else. Yeah.
So that's what that is. I think the addition of Jeff Skinner
Mm-hmm.
was a secret good ad. I think they
Absolutely.
paid him a little too much, but
Little
it
overpay.
was. Yep. Jan Mark's there. I don't know, man. Adam Henrique being extended was a little weird,
Yeah.
but he's a great two-way forward. I got a bottom six guy, but again, they like to give a lot of money. I wonder if it's that thing where it's hard to keep people in that cold ass place, so they have to pay them
You
more.
got to do something,
You
and
got to
they
do
take
something.
a ton of taxes up there in Canada, so
Yeah.
you got to pay them a little bit more for it.
Yep.
And they got Arvidsson as well
Yeah.
too. Another
Yeah.
one of those like
Yep.
older deep ads, sneaky ads. And Jeff Skinner, when he was playing with Tuck and Tage at like their peak levels, he was phenomenal. So man, you throw that guy in the mix with either McDavid or Leon or Hyman or Nuge, like he's gonna thrive. So I feel like Jeff Skinner revenge tour. Here we go. He's going to put up a bunch of points this year. Might be a good deep fantasy sleeper too. Um,
I mean, yeah, he's talented. I mean, he's had he's had a pretty rough go. I mean, he had a 40 goal season a few years ago, right?
yeah, when Tuck
Yeah.
and Taves were going off 2 years ago.
Yeah, he did really well. I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's not much more to talk about here. I honestly believe that the Oilers could win the cup.
Yeah,
I do think that goaltending needed to be addressed. They didn't really do that. They did address their goaltending by buying out um, what's his fucking
Jack,
face, Jack
Jack
Campbell.
Campbell.
Yeah, so that was how they addressed it. But I think that they needed to add there. I don't really think they had the ability. We'll just have to hope that they can outscore 7-6 games again. I mean, we
Yes.
don't have to hope, but all right.
They do have
You
that.
take number two, my man.
This one was a little tough to be honest with you, because just like these other divisions, but this one, Oilers easy, and then you just have a bunch of teams that are also kind of dog water. So here we go, and even the big teams here, I feel like they just got weaker. But I do have Vegas as my number two here, because yeah, maybe they don't have the big superstar names anymore. Can Ikes run that team? A lot of questions on this team as of late. However, just looking at their roster and just how they coach, and Vegas being that just revolving door of players, it's like, all right, you come here and you either work or you get the hell out. So I feel like they still get a lot out of everybody that they put on that team.
Hmm.
So I just don't see, I just see them compared to these other teams staying more consistent. They do have just weird deep depth with that team where it's they just have guys that are just like 6'3". They're all big bruisers. They're hard to get around. They always have a stick in your face. They do play a good style of hockey that I think just stands up really well when you're in this division. I don't really know if that's going to be how it was the past couple of years with them in the West or in this whole league in general. But in this division, I think they're taking number two. They also got Zach Aston Reese, and if that man can stay healthy, he's dog.
Dog, dog.
They got some good prospects too. From
Hmm.
what I'm seeing, they have some gnarly prospects that I think can actually still keep them in there and keep them contending. The way that they just move the puck around, it just feels like they still again everybody's trying to get on some sort of tape. I feel like they're trying to get as much as they can out of everybody. So it's hard to tell who's going to take over that game. Like when you're playing the Oilers, it's like all right, don't let McDavid try and just be a game wrecker here. With Vegas, it's like we don't know where they're coming from,
Yeah,
So it can be
yeah.
one of those teams that still I feel like they got again. I didn't do any goalie homework much more. They got Aiden Hill still there, right?
Yeah. I haven't. I believe so. Let me just check
I
here.
I
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
got
He's still
Aiden
there.
Hill there. Okay,
Yep.
so you got a decent goalie there.
Hmm.
I doubt there's anybody behind him anymore because Logan Thompson left.
Ilya Samsonov from Toronto.
Yeah, I'm still not bought in on him too, and I don't know if that's more of a
Oh,
Detroit, like a Toronto thing or what. Maybe he revived his career. He had a lot of hope. Maybe being in Vegas, where he has a little bit better defenseman in front of him that actually loves to just like block pucks all day.
yep,
Um, that might help them out. And then what did they get? Olafson was their addition as well too, which was kind of
yeah.
nice. So another guy that they took off of Buffalo, kind of like what the
Hmm.
Oilers did. That was kind of like if there's the talent around them, they can play very well. So you just don't know what version of him you're going to get, but I still think Vegas is a force to be reckoned with.
You're not going to hear an argument out of me. They're my number two.
Mm. I thought I was taking a risky move there on that one, to be honest
I
with you.
I don't know how you can, right? Like I think you look at it from the perspective of listening to the news or listening to pods or whatever, and like gaining. Oh man, look at how much has gone away. Like they lost this, they lost this. They have literally no problem with gaining though, ever. Like
Right.
you brought up Olafson, that's a great one. But what you didn't bring up is Akira Schmid and Alex Holtz from New Jersey Devils.
I got them on bullet points here. Yeah.
Dude, those. So Schmid is not their answer, but good goalie depth. But
Yeah. It's
Alex
good.
Holtz, he played here in Utica for the
Yeah.
first couple years.
Hmm.
Pasternak version of AHL.
Yeah.
Just very exciting, very very skilled winger. I've kind of always had a crush on that guy. Like he's just a fantastic hockey player, and they got him for pretty much nothing.
Yep.
Chandler Stevenson went on and basically was complaining about how there's no loyalty there. They're not. They're not. They're not in the business to be loyal.
No.
And you know what? I wouldn't be either with how aggressive they've been. How could they be loyal at all? Like right now, they're $4 million over the cap with Leonard on LTIR. Now you have a 10% buffer until you have to submit your list, and obviously there's going to be maybe Mark Stone's injured. I don't know who is right now, but honestly, they don't have the ability to. I feel like every trade deadline, they're like Vegas acquired this, and this. Oh, what did they give? A first, a first, a first, a first.
Right.
Well, how many firsts do they have? Because they still have first round picks. Like they're not in like I mean obviously the next 2 years they don't, but you would think they'd have no draft picks whatsoever, and they have seven each draft still. I just don't know what they're doing. Like it almost feels like they're just like we're gonna give you this pick and then they don't. They're just cheating. Like I don't know. It's bananas. And I'll tell you like you said, can Jack run that team? Well, I know Bruce Cassidy's coaching style very well. I love Butch. I would have, if you go back into the Bruins fandom part of me, I don't dislike Jim Montgomery at all. I think he was the right guy for the team we had a couple of years ago with like the Jake DeBrusks and stuff like that of the world that were like, this is all speculation, so I don't really know how much truth there is to this, but no one in the NHL is going to come out and say, oh, they hated each other or anything like that, right? But it's pretty clear JD had asked for a couple trades and stuff, and he was not getting along with the coach. And like the whole team was like, yeah, they lost the ear of the coach, or I'm sorry, everyone wasn't listening to the coach anymore, right? So we had to do something, and now the team that we have really could use a Bruce Cassidy. I mean, he went in there and he showed them exactly what they let go of by winning right away. And when Jack came off of his surgery, Jack's game. And he looked at Jack and he said, we don't need you. We need someone that's going to be a two-way forward.
Right.
And you need to be one. And I think that Jack played better in that playoff when he won the cup. I think he played better in those playoffs than he did at any point in his career because he didn't have to be the guy because Vegas had 40 of those guys.
Right.
And those points, I mean, he was over a point per game in the playoffs. He was an incredible player. Yeah, people forget how great that kid is, and everyone around him on this team is fantastic. The Thomas Hurdle grab, if he's healthy, what a grab! I mean, he's
Yeah.
30, but he's
Still, it could be
phenomenal.
something. It seemed like he didn't really shine last year. Looks like there were some dips there, but I mean, again,
He had
change the scenario with them, so he can still, if he really turns it on again, he can really be a
he hadn't
solid
played
piece.
that whole year though. He
Not
was
the
on
whole year,
IR in the yeah.
right?
No. I'm saying he hadn't played hockey that whole year. He was on IR the entire year.
Didn't he come in for the playoff run though? Or am
He
I missing
did.
something? Yeah.
He did, but what I'm saying is he went from San Jose to Vegas and didn't play hockey all year. So he didn't even really. So when he struggled, I'm
Right.
not putting that on him. He didn't have any. He didn't have any reps in. He was on a new team, like all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Lots of
So
variables with it.
yeah, so I'm not even. I don't even view it that way. And then again, you go through their fucking defense, and it's disgusting. I know it's a little bit older, but now adding Noah Hannafin for a million
Hmm.
years, like, yeah, Vegas could be number one. I think the Oilers are number one, but I think Vegas could be number one, and
Right.
I'm never gonna say that until this thing is ripped down apart. Now I will say something though. I'm gonna say one thing, and if I'm right, you're gonna owe me big time. But I know I'm right. I know I'm right because I'm always right. There's a little something you should know about Jack Eichel. Boston born.
True.
Okay, he was a
Yeah.
junior Bruin growing up. He wants to be home. We
Where's
know
my
this, right?
Where's my balloons?
We know this. We know
Yeah.
he wants to go home. And you know what else? He's only got 2 years left on that deal. And you know who else only has 2 years left on their deal? Charlie Coyle.
Oh,
And
Jesus
I'm going to tell you
Christ.
something right now. Charlie Coyle's going to go into the sunset, and we're going to grab 29-year-old Jack Eichel at the time, and we're going to pay
Oh,
him $600 million a year to come fucking play with us.
you
And
do
I'm going
that.
to be in my glory, dude.
That's great.
Imagine doing
We
pasta.
got a long list of teams here outside of that
I
fucking
don't
wet
care.
dream that you
Give
have
me a
here.
minute. Give me a minute. I need a minute. Give me a minute. All right. Yeah, we do have a long list of teams, but Vegas, man, it's clear. We're already being nicer to every team than we were the last one. I
Oh,
don't think
dude,
it's
it's
going
so
to
much
be
easier
nice
to be
after
nicer
this.
to these teams, though. I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, sure, is the scenarios better in this league or this division than the last one? Probably not. However, they're a lot more fun to watch. You know,
I
they're
got
still just
this is
better divisionally.
happening live. My buddy Pat, that's a Dallas fan in Texas. Hey, I'm trying to make it through your pod on the Central without pausing and calling you a fucking asshole. It's not working out for me. I said, LOL, I'm recording the Pacific right now. I hope you are even worse with them then. But we're being nicer. He'll hate this. Okay. Do you want me to pick my three or do you want to go? I like you going first, so go ahead.
Oh, sure. So then I got the old Vancouver Canucks going, say nice and pretty at three.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna have. I mean, please, can they even really do what they did last year? I'll be shocked. Um, that they just everybody had 100 points on that team last year. Like, how do you maintain that? So they got to have a regression year again. I think Vegas just did that thing where it's like, hey, we stamped what we are here. We're just getting great deals and great players, and good luck getting over us. So I do think it's going to be a little bit of regression year. However, they still have such a solid top six. They still have top defensemen. Can you still get everything out of these players again? Big if. But even if they all regress, it still seems like a better situation there in Vancouver than it does with all these other teams. Um, they got Jake DeBrusk. You will definitely know way more on him than I ever will. I'm definitely interested on how you think he fits on this team going forward and what he can really do to just keep them up at that elite status in the Pacific here. What Brock Besser are you going to get? Because last year seemed to be a fucking anomaly. So there's a lot of what ifs, but it's like, man, first off, any team that's got Teddy Bluger on it, this is a big Teddy Blues podcast. Big Teddy Blues podcast.
Not wrong.
Um, but then again, you have goaltending issues. Is Demko gonna play? Dun
No,
dun dun.
he's not.
I don't think he is. You're right. Yeah. So it's I'm bad with names. Who was that guy who came in last year for them in the playoffs? Slap something.
The goalie?
Yeah. This
I
guy
don't
stood
know.
on his head through the entire playoffs. It was phenomenal. I'm not even
Paid
going to attempt that last name.
paid zero attention to that dog shit team.
Man, I don't know. That goaltender, man, I hope nobody else pays attention to him and the Cougars just fucking let him go.
Artur Silvos?
Yeah, but I think it's pronounced a little bit differently. But
It's
yeah, that guy.
Silov. Yeah, who cares? Okay.
Yeah, that dude, dog. Absolute
All right.
great goaltender. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like even with Demko out, that they still have a really solid goaltender there.
Mm-hmm.
Can that guy repeat? Who the hell is he? I don't know. But he looks solid. If he can do anything that he did in those playoffs last year, to make a long run in the season, hell yeah. I think the Canucks sit real pretty at three.
So I fucking hate this team. I mean, we have bad blood from 2011 still, and not one player on that team is even a part of that anymore, or has been for years. But every time I see that fucking
All right, it's that emblem.
whale,
You just
yeah,
see it. Hate it.
but they're my number three, and so far we're like 100%, which is bizarre. However, let's break it down. They are fucked cap wise. Okay,
Oh,
like so Dakota Joshua, Tucker Pullman, potentially Thatcher Demko. Um, like they have 5 million on LTIR already, and they only have 90 grand available. They might throw Demko on there, but he's 5 million. So if let's just say there's not a chance here that everyone can be healthy and be on this team.
right.
So some of their acquisitions are very bizarre. Like so, first of all, Demko, for his sake, I hope he's doing better. But they did get Kevin Lankinen as a not a replacement, but so it's going to be Silvos and Lankinen, and that is obviously not a tried and true goalie tandem. So regression is just there. I mean, they lost Elias Lindholm, they lost Zadorov, both of
Zadorov.
them, both of them coming to Boston, and they took a bunch of Boston free agents, right? So it's like it's funny. We should have just traded, but we didn't. I cannot fucking believe that they threw the bag at fucking Jake DeBrusk, buddy. The guy had 40 points last year.
Right.
Trent Frederick, a line below on the third line that is just literally grinding for us, had 41. And they gave him a 7-year, $5.5 million contract. Why?
Yeah, I
What
was
the
trying to
what?
figure out the money situation on this too. I was like, is there something that I missed where maybe they saw this light with him? Is he going to be like, was there something going on with him in Boston and he has this, that type of, you know, payday coming towards him? Well, that's where I was a
No.
little lost. And I was wondering if you knew more on that because whenever I watched him, I'm like, good, not great.
Okay, not even good. Like that. The problem
Yeah.
is like he has flashes of brilliance and he goes hot. And that's the thing is those numbers don't even stand out because it's like okay, so he had, let's say he had, I think he had 27 goals last year. I'm not sure on that number, but let's just say it was. He always seems to have 27 goals, but he'll have a week where he has two hat tricks. And then the rest of the year he has 21 goals. You know what I'm saying? And that
Yeah.
isn't spread out to a point where it's like, okay, one every 5 games, maybe. He is so non a factor unless
Right.
he is surrounded by talent. Guess what? He's about to be surrounded by a ton of talent. And I have
Yeah.
a
I would say,
feeling that,
well, there's a bunch of talent there.
yeah, but they clearly favored him over re signing Brock Besser. Because if you can't ice this team this year, he's a free agent next year. So I don't know what's going on there. I think Besser's in like a prove it year, like, hey man,
Right.
what the actual fuck are you doing? Because he is unbelievable, and then he's trash, and then he's unbelievable, and then he's trash. And they just bought the same guy with Jake DeBrusk, except for he's never even come close to Besser numbers.
To
Like,
100 point seasons. Yeah.
yeah, dude. So I don't know. This team is third because again, this isn't the toughest division in the world. But anybody that has Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes,
Teddy Bluger.
Teddy fucking Bluger, the actual GOAT, Thatcher Demko. I mean, they're going to struggle for a long time with that Ekman Larson buyout and stuff. They do have some young guys. I don't see them being as dominant as they were last year, though. I don't.
No.
Third is fine.
Yeah, definitely dominant over these other teams that we're just gonna power through. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious for them to sit at three. They've just been they had some loss there, but I just don't think it's just now it's a matter of the what if. If you can even repeat, a good 80% of what you did last year, you're going to be really well. So we'll see what goes on with that. So I guess we can move on to four here, unless you got anything else on
I hope they rot in hell for eternity.
them.
I don't know if
Could have
that's news,
avoided that
but
fucking question. Four. This is where though I'm a little bit more excited for these teams than I have with any team in the Central, just because we're starting to see what they've had the past couple of years. Now, what are they really going to step into? I have Seattle at number four. Um, I don't know. They're just one of those teams. They made a change at coaching that I kind of liked. I know it's Dan Bausma. Um, he's all right. We'll see what he does with them, but he's kind of one of those like coaches that really can come in and just shape teams a little bit more. They didn't like take a regression in coaching there, where I don't think it's going to hurt them in any way.
mm-hmm.
Um, the thing with them is like, there's not one person on that team that can just be like, that's our guy. He's a top center. They
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of like second and third string centers that are really good. They are, 30 plus goal scorers, they can be. However, last year, that entire team had only 2 goal scorers, I believe, on that whole entire team.
Yeah,
Two, and I
yeah.
think it was Jared McCann, and who gives a fuck. But it's still there's just no superstar on that team, but there's just a huge talent, and I think their defense is pretty solid as well too. And I really like their goalie tandem. I think who they have back there in net. No matter what way you look at it, I watched Grubauer in Colorado.
Hmm.
He was neighbors to my buddy's parents, and from what I heard, awesome guy, great neighbor, what you kind of want to
Hmm.
hear, and he's been pretty consistent in the NHL as a goaltender. Um, they had some decent ads again, nothing to write home about, but yeah, they just still for some reason they got a cool atmosphere. They got a bunch of diehard fans immediately that bought in. I think that they can still be a contender and a really strong contender in this division. Pretty much for those reasons. I got some other things we can tap into, but
Sure.
who do you
I,
have at four, pal?
well, I don't have the Kraken. They're my five, so I'll continue on and then go to my four. But because I think you said some important things that I agree with. They last year they regressed tremendously, but I don't know if that was really because of talent or because their core is aging so quickly.
Hmm.
I um because here's the thing, right? Like their center depth without if you just take out Matty Beniers, who's God's gift to the world, and Shane Wright, who really hasn't found his groove yet, right? But I mean, gifted to them. I
Right.
can't. I still can't believe he went. Was it
I
fourth or
think
fifth?
so. Yeah.
Like he should. Okay, but anyways, they were a gift to him. Um, nobody. Yanni Gord, that little French kid. That I mean, they did get Chandler Stevenson in the offseason, right? And he's a great second line center.
Hmm.
I think Maddie is your number one. Um, but yeah, I mean, like Jared McCann is a center, but I think he played better I, over the last 2 years
I
where he's
miss him.
really on your fantasy team.
No, I miss him when he was a
Oh wait, he
Penguin.
was a
We had him as a
Penguin.
Penguin.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, we didn't lock him
yeah.
down. We got rid of wonderful 30 goal scorers for a bunch of fucking chihuahuas. It was awful. I don't even want to go into it. New year, new me. But still, Jared
And
McCann,
Tanev
consistent.
was a dog for you for a long time, right?
There was. Yeah, a couple of years there. Yep. And then they just pissed him away too, unfortunately. And that was our grit, only grit. It's like
Yeah.
every time the fans just bought into somebody, like, wow, we actually have somebody who can go out there and maybe protect Crosby for once. And nope, you get shipped out somewhere else. Good luck.
Am I right in saying that McCann played mostly wing the last couple of years for Seattle?
He duels, but
Both.
I think it was more so center. I think he played more center.
Okay.
I watched a handful of
It's
games with them too last year. I think he played more center than anything. I mean, he's 29 goals, 30 assists, 62 points. But he was
yeah,
he had nobody around him.
yeah. I think that the reason they're five for me is that they are exciting. I like their vibe too. I love that they play Nirvana when they score and stuff. Like they're cool. They're a really cool city. Really cool team. I'm glad they're here. I like them more than I like Vegas. But their real prospect pool, like A and below, like they've got Barkley Canton now. Like he's incredible. They have Ed Sale. They have that defensive. I always get his name wrong. It's like Luca, but with an S, like so Lucas or Luca. It's Dragovic.
Hmm.
He's going to be a dog for them. I mean, I
Right.
don't love their goalies, but I don't, I
Interesting.
don't, I don't love their goalies because I mean Grubauer is way overpaid for what he's bringing to the
Sure.
table.
Sure.
He's a good goalie, but he's way overpaid. He's a
They
great
did
one
overpay
B.
him immediately.
Yeah. So that they've kind of handcuffed themselves with their goalie situation. But yeah, they're not deep forward wise for NHL talent right now. Their defense is okay and their goaltending is okay. So they're a meh team, which is why they're below where I put the Kings. The Kings are four for me. Things can change. I mean, we just found out, Doughty's getting his fucking ankle screwed back on.
Yeah, that's why they took a drop with me too. I was just like, man, now you just lost that guy. I'm like, I can't. And I have the other six teams. I just have arrows switching them because I'm like, no, I don't like this. We're going back. And then I was like, nope, never mind, due to just injuries and news. And I just had to keep my original list here.
They lost a lot of defensive depth, and then they lost Doughty, and that's hard. Like Matt Waugh and Sean
Yeah.
Dursey a couple years ago, and they're just letting young talented D walk off this team. But when you compare them A and B to Seattle, the upfront talent is so much further advanced and Stanley Cup pedigree and playoff pedigree than what the Kraken really have to offer. And again, it's a marginal difference for me. I
Hmm.
could have easily swapped either of those two teams out. And I think I probably would have now knowing what I know about Doughty, but I left it because with Doughty, this is the team I believe would be, would be above the Kraken. So the funny thing about their team is that everything that works for them is wet blanket players. Anze Kopitar and Philip Deneau throw wet blankets over offense.
Right.
They are essentially every time they're on a face-off draw, you have three defensemen and three forwards because they are two of the best 200-foot game players in the game still. And Kopitar's, I think, 69 years old now.
Right, I'll say he's going on like Crosby years, dude. He's on his 20th season, I think, this
I
year.
got to look it up because I think he's older than Crosby. I really do. Just give
I
me one
think
second.
age wise he might be, but I think NHL wise he's got to be at his 20, maybe 21st season, which is concerning, right? But he's still, again, like, it's impressive how these guys can play at such an elite level for that long, no matter what. Even if you're just a locker room guy, you're still putting up numbers regardless. And yeah, that's where I had to just drop them a bit because I was like, sure, the Kings looked exciting. They looked awesome. I was always kind of excited to see them, to watch them when I had the time.
Mm-hmm.
But PLD, I think, really messed with that. We don't know what the Kings are because of last year, such a conundrum with them. We didn't really get a true story on them. I truly think in my heart, sure, they should be four, but I just think they just have this shaky foundation with them. Like you said, they let these like good young talents walk off their team almost
Mm-hmm.
religiously. And then what? I mean, up the middle, you put the whole thing on Quentin Byfield's shoulders, what I'm hearing. He seems to be a big name that everybody wants to really throw all the eggs in. So I don't know. I mean, he's good. He's, great talent and everything. I'm not dogging him at all. But they do
No,
have, again, arguably really good, consistent goaltending now. They seem to develop goalies. They still can keep them consistent there. They're on that fringe 900 save level or percentage there. Um, and
uh,
then they got a
going. I
dog.
got. Let me grab on that real quick because going into this year, you're right. Except they don't have one starting goalie this year that they've really developed. It's Riddick, Copley, and fucking Kemper now.
Right.
I mean,
But
Kemper
they're
had played for them, and Riddick and Copley had good years last year,
right.
but they're all 32, 33, 34. You really don't know. And they're all 1B, 1C goalies. Like, they're not. This is the first year where I really can't agree with that. I see where you were going with it, but not this
Yeah,
year.
not
This
not
is
nothing,
this is a
nothing
bullshit.
fantastic by any
No.
means. But Copley, again, you can get by if you have a solid team with that type of goaltending. What are they really going to be? I don't really know, to be honest with you, just because last year seemed like to be a mess. They always just seem to just be that underdog team that just grinds, dude. So again, I still think they're in that middle of the pack. They can move up without a doubt. It's all marginal
Yeah.
with them as well.
Well, they have, Quentin Byfield is obviously talked about a lot, and he's like a fucking LA King. Like the way he
Yeah.
plays, it just reminds me of the Kings. And he's big, and he's not super fast. Really good on the draw, aggressive. He just reminds me of the Kings. But they also have that kid Arthur Kaliev and Alex Turcotte too. So
Yeah.
that they have three or four kids that they can spread around. I love the Tanner Jeannot acquisition. I
Me too.
love Warren Fogle on that team.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yes. They got a little dot here for him.
So
Yeah.
so
Good
he's
snag.
another one. Kempe's great. I mean, Fiala's great. These guys are not that old. Um, I like that. It's just that their defense again is a question mark. I mean, Brant Clark is fucking great, but he's a baby, so he can have a down year, and that's not who you can hang your coat on
Right.
and say this is we're going in like this. Their defense and their goaltending definitely are meh without Doughty, and now with the Kemper acquisition, I'm like ugh. But I still think that forward group, top nine, even all 12, are way gonna outperform and outscore and put themselves right into a wild card spot. I mean, they got in last year, right?
right?
No one expected it, and they keep doing it. And I
Right,
just don't.
exactly. There's still that team that just for some reason they just keep grinding. They just keep finding a way to win.
And they don't, unlike every other team that should be in like a weird rebuild phase or going through transition, they're always a retool team. Like they're not a rebuild.
Yeah,
It's so they
right.
have a lot of prospects, but they're not like these jump out at you prospects. Because even when they were getting high first, like with Quentin Byfield and all those guys, they were like getting these guys and immediately injecting them into an already star-studded lineup that just had missed the playoffs. Like it wasn't. But yeah, I put them forward, man. I think that they're more suited for making it than the Kraken are right now. But that would bring us to your five then. Kraken was your four, so who's your five?
Yeah, Kings are my five, and
Oh,
it's
all right.
just, yeah, exactly. That's why I just kind of got my little tidbits out of the way here because if that's your team, I don't want to have you, go on your soapbox and talk about them because yeah, they still again, I agree with you 100% on that. Um, yeah, they just have that. What I do like about them is they really do have that good blend of old heads and great young, not
Mm-hmm.
great young talent, but like just a lot of solid young talent that they just seem to not really miss a beat there. So whatever they have going on in the front office or culture there, I'd buy in. Because again, you always expect them to be like, oh, when are they going to be the last of their division? You can almost want to forget about them, but they don't let you forget about them.
Right. They're always right
Um,
there.
they're always right there. I just, the hopeful kid in me just wants that cool Seattle team just to kind of fucking pound and just get there. But yeah, it's going to be tough. As Seattle just I don't think can match up with the forwards here.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see how that all goes. Because yeah, like you said, I think I like Seattle's prospects and where they can kind of go. Now, do they develop those guys? If they do, if they can get more out of these kids. Yeah, those two teams are going to be battling, and maybe we should watch out for them this season, whenever they play each other and stuff like that, because I bet you that's a hell of a matchup between those two.
Sure. I agree with that. And again, next year, Seattle's probably way up. I
Yeah,
mean, you give them another year, you never
I
know,
was
man.
hoping this was the year. I agree with you. I think maybe 2, 3 more years, like they can be like a really solid team that you have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
The three teams above them, it's just kind of tough because those guys, I think, have it all locked in. Um, you got everything on LA?
Yeah,
We're
man, we're down in the literal fucking
now
death
this is
bowl with
where
these three teams.
this is
Dog
here we
shit.
go, guys. Buckle in.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I'll let you go.
All right. I don't think anyone's going to agree with me. The Sharks.
I don't agree with you. All
Yeah.
right.
So think about it like this. All right. The Flames want to be worse. So no team can say, "Oh, we're gonna tank."
Right.
But the Flames' only hopes are to get out of that Huberdeau contract, potentially move out Kadri, and to tank. Hopefully, build up enough to where they can keep the likes of like a Uyghur or something like that going. But Flames don't want to beat the Sharks, and the Ducks are way worse than what potentially the Sharks could be, in my opinion. Okay, and that is all because Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini have made this team. Let me get on my soapbox about Macklin. Boston, watched him all this past year. He played better defensive minded forward hockey in college than I've ever seen anyone play in front of me. Like I was like, I've been my cousin's a Sharks fan. I don't know why, but he's always been one. We talk a lot about the Sharks every time we see each other, and we spent all year talking about how great Macklin was and how excited we were for Will Smith too, another Boston
Right.
college kid.
Yep.
So the last couple of years have been really conversational because I know a lot about these kids. He's telling me a lot about these kids, blah blah blah. And I told him this recently. I said, I think I'm going to like Macklin more than I like Bedard.
I think I already do. Yeah.
I think
Hasn't
it's
even played
easy
once.
to.
I think it's
At the,
easy
at,
to.
I think it's easy to, but when you just remove the logo on the front of the jersey and you look at the players, right? Bedard is like this new conversation piece of like Is he going to be the next McDavid or the next Matthews or whatever? He's not even on the same level as either of them yet, but maybe he could be. I think when you look at Celebrini's projection, I mean, he's 18 years old, so it's hard to say. I think you're going to get a Pavel Datsuk. I think you're going to get a guy that is just so fucking intelligent. He's just, how everyone like praises. I'll even say this, like Patrice Bergeron, obviously is my favorite hockey player of all time. I love defensive-minded forwards. I love 2AD. It's my favorite position to watch because I prefer defense over forward, anyways. And when you can have a little bit of both, it just excites me. And Pavel will go down forever as probably the best two-way forward to ever live, right? But also, he had this uncanny ability to just outshine on highlight reels with every fucking shot. Like it felt like magic. Everything he did, everything he touched. And I just can see this with this kid. It's like you can be a 200-foot player and be where you're supposed to be a surprise when you're like covering a zone and you're doing more than you should be. I think this kid is already doing that at an elite level that has surpassed NHL caliber. Like I really think that he's going to be the first line center October 8th. And they
I
need to
mean,
do everything
with
in
this
their
team, I think they will.
it's easy, but you have to remember like the one thing Chicago's done right where they haven't is yeah, they got some older guys around them, but they don't have anybody that you'd be afraid of.
Mhm.
I mean, Chicago did the right things. They got Bertuzzi's a fucking psychopath. He's a guy out there skating with a bomb on his chest. He'll fucking kill himself to kill you. Then you got like Pat Maroon, you got Nick Foligno. These guys are fucking they'll slit their own throats if it hurts you. You know what I mean? Like they're crazy. They don't have that here in the Sharks, right? So
Right.
I see Macklin getting in there and getting a little bit more comfortable, and oh, who knows? Maybe 10 games in, he's got 10 points, 15 points, and you're starting to talk about him, and then he just goes in that corner with his head down, just like he used to in college, and get away with it. He's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like so. It's what scares me about him is that they haven't done anything to protect him. But if he can figure out a way to be smarter than an 18-year-old right away, he's winning the Calder.
Yeah. You
I,
know,
I could see it.
it's yeah. No, I don't really have an argument on him either. I think he is a special talent. It's going to be awesome that I think the NHL is in good hands, whether you like Bedard or not, or the team that he's on.
Right.
Looks like we're going to have some really good talents here that we can watch until we're all in a casket at some point here because these kids are young. They're good. They bring a
Yeah.
whole different style, man. Like, I cannot wait. And I guess I can, but at the same time, I can't wait to see how this game really evolves again for this next, like, you know, evolution of these players that just come in with them. So, and that's where I kind of like San Jose. I do have them last. We're just going to get that out of
Okay.
the way. I don't think that's a shock to many.
No, no,
Um,
it's not.
and my only notes, I believe, here outside of a few other things is trash, Celebrini, trash, good upside. That's all I wrote for them on this one.
I got it. Well, let me expand on that because I can sit here and talk about Macklin all day, but not one player is ever going to change a team. But you're forgetting, man, that William Eklund is phenomenal. They did just get Tyler Toffoli over there. If Couture is
Right.
healthy, like this team is easy to crumble up and throw away. But Klim Kostin, Carl Grundstrom, they're not nobodies. Their defense is nobodies. They got
Right.
Jake Wallman for nothing. Remember, I was bitching about Detroit throwing him away. He's
Mhm.
fantastic. Outside of that, yikes. But they just got Yaroslav Askarov, dude. So
Right.
they are going to probably keep more pucks out of the net than they did last year. And if they just do that
Well, can't go once.
marginally a little bit more, then you've got them beating the Ducks. The Ducks don't have Gibson. The Ducks don't have anybody.
Right.
So
Well,
that's at least my argument. But that's where I'm putting them. I'm excited to watch Macklin and Will Smith this year. Everybody around them. If you're a fan, you're probably excited, but those two are what I care about. So they're
for
they're
sure.
6-8.
And great upside with them. And what I did have as like a little side note here too is they did adapt and try to get a couple old heads that like haven't you said Toffoli's on there? Yeah. Great guy to have in there for them too.
Mm-hmm.
They still have, the old guy or well, a couple old heads that stay there with them. I mean, you got Logan Couture with them. They did get Barclay Goodrow, but I don't know if he's really going to be much for them, but also still like a good hockey mind to have in a locker room because he was just on such a high caliber team.
Hmm.
It's kind of nice when you just come from like an elite team and you'd be like, hey, I just watched this guy do this every single day. And maybe I can't do that, but here's some wisdom that I can pass along. That
Sure.
definitely goes a long way. Um, yeah, again, it's just they're just so young. They're not going to be bottom of the barrel for me for very long, just because of basically a lot of the little points you said there.
Hmm.
They just I think they can. I mean, Gibson's only out for 3 to 6 weeks. Poor Gibby, you're right, has had to carry this fucking team. However, I think the Ducks are still just finding themselves a little bit in a better position to stay up above. I know we're kind of sidetracking here because we didn't even touch my six here. You having San Jose at six is I can see it. These last three here again, I kind of went back and forth with my mind and went over it. And I'm like, nah, I just think San Jose is just going to kind of, unfortunately, this year just going to be bottom of the barrel. It's just
They want
until
to
I
be.
really see them. What's up?
They'll want to be. They still have their own first. They don't need to be the best. They want a high
Right.
first. They want a high pick. But I do think that they have put talent on this team to a point where I'll let you go. I've said it enough, but I am interested in what your so they're your eight. So who's your six?
I do have the Ducks at six.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, and I think just for a couple things, and again, it's all if ands or buts, but this is also a Zegras like prove it year, dude. Like,
Hmm.
man, can this guy? He's good. He's a special talent. He had nobody around him. You had a bunch of young kids on this team. There isn't one. There's one guy I think on Anaheim. I wrote it here in my chicken scratch. I'm gonna look at it. I think the oldest age is born in 1993 on this team. Everybody else is like 20 years old. So they're really good. I mean, my buddy's a big Ducks fan. I talk with him a lot with the Ducks, and they just like maybe with his bias, he just got in my ear a bit too much. I am kind of riding a little bit higher with them, but
Hmm.
these young kids now are getting a little bit older. They have they kind of picked up a little bit on defense as well too. They got Brian Dumlin on that team, and hopefully Troy Terry can really pick it up. Denver boy, I think he actually can. I mean, Troy Terry is a phenomenal talent on that team. I just think if he just has a little bit more complementary pieces around him, just lift him up a little bit. And from what I'm seeing on this roster and the culture that they're kind of rebuilding out there, maybe these jersey changes, really do it. Leo Carlson's looking great. They have such a bunch of great young talent that I just, would love to see them just pick it up just a little bit, and I think they can get over that San Jose and Flames section because the Flames took just a massive hit on all fronts with them. They just again just blow it up one time with them and see what they do, but they just really need to get rid of like Huberdeau and
Everything.
all that stuff on there. Yeah,
Well, Ducks are seven for me, which is
understandably so.
clear that the Flames are dead last. It's more of a want. I'll go into my Duck speech. Honestly, yeah, this is where I think my take might be wrong, and you could flip the Sharks and the Ducks for me, but I'm not going to because truth is they have invested so much of their time into these kids that again, like flash in the pan stuff, like Trevor Zegras, he's got to do more than a Michigan for me, man. Like I'm over him.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Honestly,
Can he
it,
actually be this hockey player that everybody built him up to be? And I do see it. I can see it in him. It's just
I don't
where's
know
his
if I
head?
can. I
Where's
don't know
his
if I
head?
can. I think that he's clearly talented. There's no argument there. I mean, he's in the fucking NHL. That's stupid to say. Like he's. I just don't see what everyone else sees in him because I don't see much of anything that that would stand out to me with him. Like he is a good hockey player, kind of like a Jake DeBrusk, where there's not like this one thing I can hinge on and say, man, he's really super fast or he is super offensive minded and he's always in position. I mean, like literally everything I'm saying right now, I've seen him be slow and out of position and not able to pass and not able to see the play and not able to get through the neutral zone and not be able to chip up the boards and not be able to grind and not take a hit. And he's fun and his vibe is fucking awesome. And this is man, it just sounded like I just shit all over him, but it doesn't make him
Well,
bad at it.
that's
It's
it's
just
all correct though. I mean, that is valid.
it's not that he's bad at any of those things either. He's just not excelling in any of them. So he's just a guy. It
Yeah.
really feels like this hype is just crazy because of these fucking Michigans, and I'm like, that's cool, but it's really not. I don't really give a fuck about them. You know, like pick up that's fine. You do that in your driveway, and let's play hockey here. Like I don't want I don't want it to not go away or anything because it's exciting when like they do it and they're doing it at full speed or anything. But that's really all I know about the kid. Now,
Sure,
Leo
that's all they show
Carlson,
on ESPN with them too, you know. And then those Ducks, you got to remember, they had zero leadership for about 2, 3 years with all these Rugrats out there just
yeah,
running the yard, with nobody watching them. And I think, you know, that's just kind of unfortunate because when they just like they blew up over the last couple of years for roster wise, you want Cam Fowler out. They had a lot of drama and stuff, and they're like, you know, Gibson's like, give me the fuck off this team, and they just didn't. They're like, no, you're here, bud. So
Fowler's still there.
he is. They're
Oh,
asking
okay,
to
okay.
leave though, but yeah,
Is
they're
he?
like
Yeah.
they're kind of hinting just to get me the hell out of here. But then at the same time, you get a little bit of a change in atmosphere there. You get your captain. You're starting to solidify things. But for 3 years, they didn't have a captain on this team.
Nothing worth it. I mean, Leo Carlson, Mason McTavish, Pavel Mintikov, that defenseman. These are all kids. Cutter Gauthier from the Flyers. Like these are all very exciting pieces. But everything that was already there as their exciting piece became meh. Like Troy Terry, meh. Frank Vetrano had a great year last year, but meh. Like these guys are meh. And I'm
Yeah,
just like I just feel like it's always meh.
these
And
last three are all meh.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
But again, dude, what are we talking about here? We're talking about what? The difference of 5 points. If I'm
right,
wrong, if I'm right and the Sharks are sixth, I'd say they super fucking overachieved.
huge. Yeah,
You know what I
huge.
mean? Like if they actually end up in sixth place, even if it's by 2 fucking points, that's way overachieving for what they should be doing. But I
Right.
have zero faith in this fucking Ducks team. And
I think it's a little bit different than the last couple of years
that's
with
that's
this.
fine. I can be wrong, but I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, they're older, but they're all
See that
just
right there,
fucking
pal. Charlie
yeah.
Conway didn't let fucking Emilio bang his mom for this team to be last place, dude. It's not happening.
Well, I'm sorry, Charlie, but they've been last place for like the last 50 fucking years. I don't know what to tell you. All right, I'm getting over this already. Anaheim and Sharks, it's like saying shit or turd, man. Who cares?
Right,
But
yeah. These last three to me really could care less. They're gonna it's gonna be tough, no matter what way you look at it.
so then I'm guessing 7 and 8 for you. 7 for you, 8 for me is Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary, San Jose.
All right,
And
so
I personally like even after listening to this, I just want the Flames dead last. I might even just
for
change it
them,
right now.
fuck it, fuck being mean. For them, they need to be last.
Right.
Okay? Unlike the Ducks and unlike the Sharks, they're a team with two firsts and 2 seconds. And then they have two firsts and 26. Their plan is to get four new fucking people, six new people in this lineup within the next 2 years. In order to do that and to recoup and to grow, they need to lose. Now, the team that they've iced is easy to lose with. It's bad. It's really bad. Buddy, I feel so fucking bad for the likes of Rasmus Anderson and Mackenzie Weegar.
Right.
Um, because that's it.
That's it. That is it.
I can't find a good thing to say about even a rookie.
I don't. I think they have a little bit of upside for their goaltending from the little rumor mill that I'm hearing.
Dustin Wolf
Dustin
is
Wolf, yeah,
yeah. Uh, but
but they're the St. Louis of the West for me. You
yeah.
know, like I
Uh-huh.
should have them dead last here. It's just the super unknown and just young, and even the old heads in San Jose, they just don't seem like they're just going to be that. Like it's not like you got Stamkos type of old.
Right.
Um, so sure, we'll see what that happens on it. But yeah, technically in my heart, like Flames should be dead last.
Think about it like this, man. So they have 20 million in cap space available right now. All right. They have 23 out of 23 men on their roster. They have a bunch of prospects. I haven't really heard of many of them, right? They go into this season and they're announcing, hey, we're interested in moving on from Huberdeau and Kadri. So what? You're going to have $40 million available, and like you should just ride those two out,
You
and
should.
like
You should.
and quite honestly, what are they going to get you anyway? If you're really looking to retool, rebuild, grab draft capital, it's not going to be with the likes of Jonathan Huberdeau, who signed till 2035
Right. He's
at
there forever.
11 million. Like I, he was so good in Florida, and obviously that trade worked out for Florida. Um, and I still fucking believe that Huberdeau has it in him somewhere to come back and be a 30 goal scorer, 60 to 70 point guy. I don't think that's so far out of the realm. It isn't going to be here. They don't have anything for him to do that with. But if it was going to be somewhere, it'd have to be with a team that had talent around him. Who can afford that, and who would take the risk on what he's done? No one. He's in a rock and a hard spot, man.
Right, exactly. The whole team is. It's just. It was so weird because they just look so promising, like they're about to take off. And they're like, "Let me just shoot myself in the foot."
Yeah, I don't really know how. Like
I know. I
they
know.
like a few years ago, their bottom six was tough.
Right.
They had like Ronaldo and Luch. They had Zadorov on the back end. Man, when Gaudreau to Chuck and Lindholm were their top line, and they all had 40 goals that one year. Like they
Hmm.
looked like they were just about to have it all, right? And then they're getting up there, and I don't really know if you can blame the Calgary Flames for Johnny Gaudreau wanting to hit free agency and Matt Tkachuk saying, "Why the fuck would I want to play here? We
Right.
just had 40 goals each, and no one's in the seats. Like, what else can I do? I want to win a cup. Like, I get that. Um, it sucks because Tkachuk was such a good flame. Like, that was
Right.
so good, and Gaudreau was such a good flame. But it's hard to live there. It's hard to be the team under the shadow of Edmonton. It's
Yes.
really hard to be mediocre all the time or never cared for or live in that cold ass fucking place. Like I know I've never fucking been there, but man, they need really badly for somebody to save their ass and say, hey, we will take Huberdeau at half retained, which is $5.5 million anyways, which is what Jake
Right.
DeBrusk makes, and say, hey, you pay for half of Huberdeau, and we'll pay for half. We'll take him, and you're going to get a third round pick. And they need to be happy with that.
Right.
Kadri, Kadri's great. He's also
Very good,
33.
but he's up there in age, and they overpaid him. But he just came off that massive playoff run with Avalanche, so I understand that somebody had to give that man his bag. He's
Yep.
been pretty consistent and was just phenomenal on such a strong team. And then
Yep.
that was also kind of in that era where the Flames should have been that strong team again, and they're just like, no, Florida, here's all of our gems, and it's just not been looking good ever since then.
Yeah.
I do like
Well,
that Sharon Govich kid on there.
yeah. Yeah, I forgot he was there. He was a devil, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
good call. I
He's
forgot about
good.
that. Hmm.
But Kadri last year had 75 points. Like
Right,
he's not nothing. I just think
right.
in 2 years is he going to be able to play the way he is now? No, because he's going to be 36, 37 years old, and he's still going to have like 5 or 6 years on his fucking deal.
I know. I was
Like,
there for a long
you know,
time.
yeah, he's seven by seven, I think he signed.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think if they can remove Huberdeau, let all the dead weight fall off. Oh, by the way, they extended Sharon Govich.
Smart move. Okay. Good
I think
step in
it's
the right direction if you're going to do this because that kid's
yeah,
talented.
that's somebody you just keep around just in case you do take off or you get some good trades or whatever. I mean, he signed a 3 year extension at 5.75.
Nice.
That Martin Pospisil, you
Hmm.
know who I'm talking about?
I do, but you know me with names. I'm not going to fucking attempt it.
I don't know his name if that's correct. He was a dog last year. He was cool, very aggressive. Um, yeah, we'll see. I hope that they lose for their sake, and I hope they get some. They just really need draft picks that don't have a say in their future.
Right.
Hey, you're our property. We need you to fucking play. Like that's what you need. You need to hope that whoever you grab with your first round pick doesn't opt out of the contract when they're done with college, like everybody seems to do.
Like
All right.
you mentioned it though, it's a tough town to live in. Old Calgary's a
Yeah.
cow town up there, and the taxes are expensive, so it's tough to sell people to move there and get their families there, and then continue to play at such a high caliber level. Because man, it's the town that you live in and who you play for does matter.
You know,
That's an overlooked little stat, So it's yeah. I mean,
I think it's pretty obvious too that people are miserable when they leave there because they all leave there.
yeah.
But anyways, I hope they lose themselves. We are this is the longest one we've done yet.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm ready to wrap, and I'm also very fucking excited that we are done with the division conversations.
Good job, pal.
We
Good
we
run.
did it.
Good run.
I think I think that like it was funny because my buddy Pat, the Dallas fan, he was just fucking blowing me up the whole. I'm like, dude, I'm recording to the Pacific. I'm telling you, I just told everybody, the whole 7 people that listen, that you're doing this, which one of them's him. And he's just losing it on me. He's been drinking whiskey all night in his hot tub, so he's fucking losing it on
You
me.
just dog Dallas. He's just replaying the 10-minute segment.
He's like, dude,
About
he's just. I'm
Dallas.
like, I can't get you to fucking respond to me ever. But I say one bad thing about Dallas, you're up my fucking ass. Whatever. I'm
Yeah.
stoked that this is over. Let's just get this fucking season going, man. I'm
Hey, we're
bleeding
here.
for hockey. Yeah.
We're here. This will be out Wednesday at 7. Thanks for listening to Not a Good Hockey Pod.
Yep. Bye.